Hello, 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 and welcome to the village. Welcome. Listen, it is National Autism Awareness Month. So, welcome to the village. We are spotlighting and making sure that we are making our schools inclusive and making sure we are informing ourselves about autism awareness, right? Because this is what this month is all about, educating ourselves more about autism. So today I have a special guest who's going to come on and tell us more as far as being an advocate, right? For our parents and for our students. We need to learn more so that we can do more, right? Now, again, I'm Dr. Roz, CEO and founder of the Village Leadership Group, LLC. And welcome to the Village, where we encourage teachers, inspire our educators to do more, to lead, to be a teacher leader, because teacher leadership is a mindset and not a position. So again, welcome to the village. So we're gonna get right into it. My special guest is Mrs. Cheryl Darden. Come on in and welcome back to the
Hi.
village. Welcome back.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here on a topic that is not just special during this time of the month, but it's something that is a part of my life. Um, Autism was not something that I grew up knowing about or even being aware of how to detect that in a child or a person. But I had my own personal experience, which opened the door to a whole nother experience. And I can say that it's been a blessing because my son is my child who has taught me patience and unconditional love. So I don't know if the screens are on. Rosalind, did you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, we're gonna start our presentation right now. So, all right, we're gonna put it up. So again, welcome to the village. Those of you who are joining us, again, we're talking about autism advocacy, the pieces of the puzzle. So we have our guest Cheryl Darden, who is a parent and advocate, right? So she is very involved in making sure that parents and students have what they need. It's going navigating through the school system and going through that process and making sure that the students' needs are met. So not only is she advocating for her child, but she also advocates for others as well, and making sure that parents and teachers are informed. So again, Cheryl Darden, thank you for joining us again, right? Because this is not your first time joining us. So before we get started, I want you to just tell us a little bit about what you do as far as being an advocate, and then we're going to jump into your story.
Okay, well, professionally, I'm a human resources manager, and I've been in human resources for about 25 years. I'm telling my age. I also own Leaders by Design Consulting, and we specialize in career coaching and development. Also, human resources management, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and also staffing and recruiting for corporations. And with all of that, I have a son who I am the number one advocate for when it comes to his education, social skills. And as I'm talking, can you go to the next screen?
Because no, we got you. We got you.
Okay. This story is really about Theophilus and myself. It's our story. And I took a couple of pictures here of him because he's just like any other child. And every child is different. And you learn that child's personality and what things spark their interest. And Theophilus, I can say, and I just put the last picture up there. Today we went to Botanical Gardens, and he just received a camera for his birthday. And so now he's into taking pictures. So what I would say in the story, it's always evolving. We're always discovering new things, from music classes to drum classes to social skills classes to ABA therapy, different types of things we're always experiencing to figure out what pieces of the puzzle fit so that he can be more productive and ultimately be independent on his own, because I'm not going to be here forever. So that's just a little bit of our story. He is the youngest of three of my sons. I have one that's 30, one 27, and Theophilus is 17. He's the baby. So he is the child that has taught me patience and just taught me to be open to differences.
Right.
So,
So,
go ahead.
Sure, I have a question because, of course, you're my cousin. And so I've been there as your cousin, as a relative, and really caring and loving Theophilus throughout this whole journey. But I want to hear from you. I know that it has been some challenging moments, especially working with Theophilus' school and his teachers as well. So as a parent, tell us a little bit about some of those challenges that you faced and how you had to advocate for Theo.
Right. So I think the biggest challenge for me was the diagnosis. When Theophilus was born, he was 24. He was born at 24 weeks. So he was a preemie, 1 pound, 12 ounces. So we were in the NICU for 97 days. Therapy was always a part of his life, from physical therapy, OT therapy, all speech therapy. That was a part of his life because we had developmental delays. But he wasn't diagnosed until about age 4. Vibrant, learning. He was verbal, more verbal than what he is now. And so some of the frustration started to sink in when Theophilus would get agitated when he was put in unknown environments. I would see him have meltdowns. My 2 older sons would have to endure that as well. And so it did make for an uncomfortable situation. But I said to myself, am I going to take him out of the public and he never learns? Or am I going to stand fast in those environments, church, restaurants, etc., that sometimes are challenging? Even the grocery store was challenging for me when he was about 2 and 3, because if things weren't perfect, or if I went down the wrong aisle, and I mean that seriously, if I went down the wrong aisle at the wrong time outside of the order that I did before, he would have a meltdown. So just knowing how to manage, knowing how to calm him down, it was a challenge, and it was frustrating. And I cried many nights because I didn't understand why this was happening. So with the diagnosis, what happened is we were in school, and one of the teachers at the time had said, I can't calm him down. I'm going to tie his legs to the chair. And just the thought of that in my head, it just sank my whole spirit. I think I cried all the way when I drove to pick him up from the school. And I took him to a psychiatric specialist, and we had a full examination and did the testing. And he was diagnosed with autism at age 5.
Question, Cheryl. Mm-hmm. So with the diagnosis, your child has autism, and I know that was kind of, a burden, like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But it's also a sigh of relief, because now you know the path that you have to take, right? Right. It has a name for it. So also one of the things that you told me about and taught us as a family about this spectrum. So can you kind of tell us about this autism spectrum and how, there's a variety of ways that not students, but our children can express their speaking, their verbal, the communication. There's a wide range. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I want to tap into this because you work and you communicate and you have a network of educators. A lot of times, autism can be misdiagnosed as a behavioral issue, and it's not always a behavioral issue. I know I've been blessed with that first experience was a bad one, but I have been blessed with some excellent teachers and administrators who have created awesome things, and I'll talk about that later. But when you talk about the spectrum, the spectrum is wide. You can have everything from depression to ADHD, children with anxiety, some children with Tourette's, seizures. A lot of different factors can go into play when you talk about the autism spectrum. And when a child is diagnosed through whatever testing is provided, there's still a need for a deeper dive for the advocacy coalition, so to say. And that's what I talk about my team that I have for Theophilus. They have to get together and talk during those IEP meetings and other sessions to really hone in and find out about my son. And the reason why is because now that he's gotten older, he is not as verbal as he was when he was younger. And so that was something that I didn't know until he became a teenager. Quite often times when someone is diagnosed or when a child is diagnosed when they're young, as they get older and they grow and their hormones are going, they become less verbal as they get older. So that's just something to kind of trace in the education system when children are going from elementary school to high school. But the spectrum is wide and it could be a number of things.
Wow. So let's keep going. So let's talk about, again, now we have this diagnosis, but now we have to talk about really advocating for your child and making sure that they get what they need. So tell us a little bit about that process.
Right. So after you finish crying and you have your frustrations and all of that, you look at this child and you say, okay, I have a responsibility to make sure that he gets or she gets whatever they need. The first thing is health and fitness. Just because a child is on the spectrum does not mean that they should not play. It means they need to play more because they need to be in touch with their body, the positioning of their body as well. I remember when we lived in North Carolina, Theophilus, my son, he would be outside at the pool, but his spacing to where the street was, where the traffic was, would be agitating towards to him. So I would have to calm him and like probe him to let him know that the cars are over there, we're over here. So just the health and fitness helps with the spacing and the body placement for a lot of children who are on the spectrum. Many children who are on the spectrum don't like touch. They don't want you to touch them. Some of them touch you inappropriately. So talking about it, reiterating what is the proper way and behavior is important with patience and with love. Because one thing a child that's on the spectrum can always detect is if someone is being mean-hearted or the anger, and sometimes they can fall back if they feel that. So health and fitness is very important. Research professional services. Sometimes teachers can help you with that. Counselors in the school can help you with that. You can contact Autism Speaks. They have a lot of creative resources that can help even in the classroom. I know one of my teachers found this thing called Touch Math that made it easier for Theophilus to do his math assignments. So there's resources that are out there. Even if you Google or go to Amazon, you can find those things. For parents, it's important that you understand your parental rights in the education system. Like I said, my first experience was a bad one. I can tell you I've had a lot of great experiences in some schools, even where they created inclusive programs where my son could be a part of the regular basketball team by creating fifth quarters to the basketball games, making him a patrol in the school, making him a safety monitor where he creates signs and put them around the school. So there's different ways that the education system can involve children that are on the spectrum in the process. And I would say too, when it comes to the IEP, make it a team effort.
Yes.
Mom is there, dad may be there, teachers and counselors are there, but everybody is on the same team. Oftentimes, many parents that I know, they say that they feel like they're not a part of the team during the IEP meetings, that it's a separation between them and the educators that their children are with every day. And all I would say to that is be a partner with the parents. I can tell you, my son now in the school that he's in, I have meetings with the teacher on Mondays. I have meetings on Friday, phone calls that might be just 15 minutes. She'll text me. I'll text her, let her know what's happening here. If he did something that, was different, I let her know so she could be prepared for that when he gets there. So it's a partnership between the schools. Keep them socially engaged, even when they don't want to be.
Mhm.
Being social is not an automatic thing for a lot of kids that are on the spectrum. So create those social environments where they can play and communicate with other people, and help them to build independence. This is really important to me because my son is 17. So creating a structure where they can learn processes like washing clothes, washing dishes, cleaning up the bathroom. Teach them that, because you know what? They're going to have to learn those things anyway. And
Right.
then also learn your child's communication preferences and share that with the teachers. Children learn differently, they communicate differently. The more that you communicate with them, you learn what their preference is. And I'll say, lastly, make sure you take care of yourself. I used to say this even with my older children: if mommy doesn't have mommy time, I'm not going to be a good mommy. So you have
Right.
to you have to have time for yourself and take care of yourself as a caregiver and advocate.
Awesome, awesome. These are great tips. And I love the fact that you're talking about having a partnership with the school. Because sometimes parents feel like they're fighting with the school,
Right.
and they don't feel like it's collaborative. And like you said, we're on the same team. We're trying to do what's best for the student. The parent, of course, is one to fight for their child, but it shouldn't be a fight. It should be we're coming together to make sure that that child has whatever they need to be successful. So I love that. It's a partnership.
It is.
So that's good. All right, next, let's keep it moving.
Okay, so
So,
back to the coalition. Did you have a question, Rosa?
no, keep going.
Okay, so the coalition, like I said, I can't do this just like the village is a village of leaders. You can't do it by yourself. Being an advocate for a child that's on the spectrum, you definitely can't do it by yourself. And I will say this: a lot of times, if parents who have not had their children diagnosed, because a lot of times the stigma that's attached to it, we're fearful.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rosalind, like Dr. Ross said earlier, the first thing is knowing. And once you know, you can plan. Know that you're not by yourself. There's so many. I think it's 4 out of 10 boys now are diagnosed on the spectrum. And that was last year. So you're not alone. And I think there is power when people come together that are
Definitely.
experiencing the same thing. Again, I say partner with the educators and the administrators. You know that special rights, parental special rights document that they give us every single time during that IEP meeting?
Read
Read
it.
it.
Read
Read
it.
it. Read it. Do not throw it away. Read that so you know how to ask questions, because the educators have policies and procedures that the state and the federal government have already put in place. So when you ask questions, you want to know what that statute is so you can ask properly. And then if statutes need to be changed, then that's when the parent groups come together to push Congress or whomever to pass laws. And I'll use this as a prime example. When I was a military spouse and TRICARE did not cover autism therapy, ABA therapy, parents came together and pushed, and Congress ended up passing that. And that was included in the TRICARE insurance. So there is power when parents come together, but you still need to know what the current mandates are and the current guidelines. Teachers are not saying no, they just know what the guidelines and the statutes
Mm-hmm.
are saying because their administrators know that. So that's when the partnership and the communication has to happen between the three parties. Join support groups. When my son first was diagnosed, if I didn't know anything, the first place I went to was Autism Speaks, and from there I found out about local autism programs. When I moved to North Carolina, there was nothing there. And me and another lady, we started Autism Center in an old house that was donated in Morehead City. So there you can come together and you can find out the resources and come together and support each other. Inform and involve your family and friends. Like Rosalind said, when Theophilus was diagnosed, I shared that with my family. I didn't shun him away and I didn't, not talk about it. No, I'm going to talk about it. They know I talk anyway, but I'm going to talk about it and educate everybody on, how to communicate with him, how to talk, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what might work, and then sending him off to be able to have his own interactions with his family and his friends. So that's really important. And I say again, embrace social engagements and do your research. For me, I know at one time, the medications that were offered at one time were not, I didn't approve of them. And I didn't approve of them for various reasons. And I know some parents have no choice. But I will say this: research medications, research therapies, know what the symptoms, know what the side effects are in your child. Don't be afraid to ask doctors questions and find out if there are alternative programs and therapies that are out there. There's a lot out there. Theophilus and I now are participating in this program called Spark. And Spark is the first organization that is actually doing a DNA testing for autism. So we had to do the swab and all of that and send that back in because they want to see genetically, was there something that caused this? So there's so much that's out there, so much that's out there. So do your research. And when you don't know, ask someone.
Awesome. So again, guys, I love it. This is some good stuff. So if you are an educator, school leader, district leader, you definitely want to learn more about autism and this spectrum that Cheryl is talking about, because again, it's a wide range and we want to educate ourselves so that we can help our students. Now, some of you may say, well, I don't have any students at my school that are on the autism spectrum, but you never know. You may want to make sure that you learn more about this so that you can recognize some of the signs, and that when those students do come through your doors, you'll be able to support the students and the parents, because again, it takes a village. So again, if you have any questions, definitely.
Sure. I did want to add.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to add to what you just said in regards to the teachers training. There are teacher certifications in the field of autism right now because it's such a great need. Special education is in need for it. So there are trainings, there are certifications, and sometimes if administrators just wanted to have an open forum meeting with parents who have children with autism, just to find out more about the families and the children that they are serving and how to build that coalition, that would be a great start right there. Just have a forum, an open forum, open discussion, maybe with some snacks, and just have a talk.
Definitely. So, Cheryl, how can people reach out to you if they have any other questions about some of the things that you shared with us today?
Okay, the last slide. You can reach me at Cheryl at leadersbydesign.net, and also my website, www.leadersbydesign.net, if you have any questions.
All right, and we'll also put all of that information in the chat, in the comments as well. All right, so again, thank you so much. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. Again, guys, it's all about working together and collaborating. That's what the village is all about. So thank you, Cheryl. See you next time. All right, village. Well, I hope you guys learn a little bit more about autism. Again, this is National Autism Awareness Month. So we need to inform ourselves so we can do more for our students and advocate for our scholars and support our parents as well. All right, so continue to join the village. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Village LG. And remember, teaching leadership is a mindset, not a position. See you next time.